Welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast, a show committed to bringing you insights from thought leaders shaping the real estate industry. In each episode, we'll dive into conversations with industry experts and local insiders, all aimed at helping you thrive in an ever-changing real estate market, continuing the legacy that Bruce Norris created, sharing valuable knowledge, and empowering you on your real estate journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a newcomer, this is your go-to source for insider tips, market trends, and success strategies. Here's your host, Craig Evans.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Norris Group Real Estate Podcast. Craig is out today. I am your humble guest host, Joey Romero. Today we have another great guest. Bob Lachance is the founder and CEO of REVA Global, a leading virtual assistant staffing company for real estate professionals. A former professional hockey player, Bob spent 8 years on the ice, dividing his time between teams in the U.S. and Europe. After retiring from hockey, he transitioned into real estate and acquired his first flip in 2004. Bob has closed over 2,000 transactions, including 240 deals in 2022, over 280 in 23, and in 2024, they did 207 transactions. He is also the co-founder of PurchRock, a real estate investment firm in Connecticut. With all that said, let's get into it. Now, is that how you say it, Lachance, or is it?
That's it. That's it. Thank you, Joey.
Yes. So it's not that, you come from the hockey background, so it's not Canadian. It's not Lachance.
It's funny. I do get that a lot saying, hey, how do you say your last name? So,
Bob, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast with us. You have an interesting route to real estate and to entrepreneurship in general. Can't wait to dig in. But before we start, can we dig into a little bit about Bob, the person, before we get going?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Just a 2-second rundown. I started real estate now we're dating back. So I started back in 2004. Prior to that, I played professional hockey for 8 years, which is pretty cool. I went to Boston University for 4 years, left school a little early. So if you want to ask any questions about getting a degree, I don't have my degree. So anyway.
That's okay. I'm gonna jump into all of that. So now I grew up playing baseball. So I played,
cool.
That to the D2 level. So I wasn't a pro, but, I played at a higher level also. So growing up, if anybody asks me, like, what are you going to do as, when you grow up, I was always going to be a baseball player. Was it like that for you?
You know what? The goal was always to make the NHL. Played one exhibition game in the NHL, and then I played in the minors for the rest of my career, which is pretty cool. I was very close to making it, but there's a lot of life lessons you get from almost making it to the NHL, which is pretty cool. My brother played. My brother was a number 4 draft pick in the world, if you will, back in 1991. So he played a long time. A lot of my buddies, a lot of my roommates that I played college with, played in the NHL as well. So very, very close. But again, almost there. So fast forward, when I retired, ended up jumping into an industry that did not need a college degree, because it was either go back to school. You'll enjoy this one. Go back to school or jump into an industry that, I don't know, you didn't know anything about, because you don't learn much.
There's always sales, Bob.
That's right. You don't learn much in any locker room, baseball locker room, hockey locker room, basketball, football. There's not much that's learned, because you're talking to other guys. Our main subject was, hey, what are we doing tonight? Where are we going to go? What bar are we going to go to? What are we? Who's going to buy the first round, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a lot different than the business world. But I decided to jump into business, and I did a lot of research on different industries, and real estate kept popping up because there's no barrier of entry. This is probably the best industry out there, in my opinion, to get into, because you could go, you could do residential, you could do commercial, you could get into a service business like I started. You could get into coaching, like I started a coaching business. I don't do that anymore, but through the process and through my journey, there's a lot of different avenues, a lot of different things that you can do if you start in real estate. So I know we'll get into that, but that's a long and short of a little bit of what I do and what I did.
Did you only play hockey, or did you have other sports? Was hockey your first love?
So I actually almost quit hockey to play soccer in high school, because I was going to start my freshman year, but my father smacked some good sense into me and said, hey, you know what? You're pretty good at this one sport. You should probably, I'm thinking about the notoriety you're going to get in school, et cetera, et cetera. So my father, which thank thank him to this day that I jumped into hockey and I stuck with it. So I always wanted to play hockey. It was something that me and my two brothers played.
Now, was that just a product, like, I'm in Southern California, so we play baseball. Was that just a product of growing up in Bristol?
You know, it was a product of my father's, first passion and first love. So he did everything for us, and everything was hockey. He coached us growing up and taught us everything we knew. So he had a very, very strong work ethic and a very strong passion for the sport of ice hockey.
Who was a bigger mentor, your brother or your dad?
My dad.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my brothers, we were like this the whole time. Yeah, we were battling.
Dropping gloves? You dropping gloves?
All the time. It was great. My father built a backyard rink. We played basketball and street hockey on it in the summertime, and then we iced it up in the wintertime, and we played. We had some fun time in the backyard rink.
So how did you like playing in Europe?
I loved it. I played there 4 years, played in Italy, Switzerland, Germany, and then Switzerland again. So
that was after your U.S. career?
Yep, 4 years here. And then jumped in, and then, off to real estate, off to a virtual assistant company, off to lending, off to coaching, off to all that kind of cool stuff.
So, all right. So at 30, based on your bio, your old bio, you did your first flip. Why did you dive into real estate specifically? I know you talked about it. But was it more of like people that you knew, or just the research that you dove into?
No, just the research I did, and I wanted to go out and join an industry again that wasn't corporate. I'm not really cut out in the corporate world, even though I created companies I created have the structures of corporate structure. But I was an entrepreneur earlier, and I did a paper route. I worked for my dad. My dad was a contractor, so I started seeing those things. He hired people, and I started seeing kind of through that lens. And for me, I'm kind of unhireable on that side of it. I love working with people, and I love coaching and mentoring. But when I look at that, I wanted to be the leader of the team, if you will.
That's the typical route that the investors go. Like people dive into real estate and they'll go into lending, they'll go into selling homes. But people who are like, hey, I just want to go at my pace. I want to work as hard. I want to get paid for as hard as I work. So they'll go down that route. Now, where did you do your first flip? Where did you start your investing career?
I did it in Connecticut. It's interesting. So I bought a book all about real estate, but really not really about anything. It's very, very broad, kind of a thick book. So I read it, and it taught me how to farm areas. So I got in my car and I started farming areas and started making offers. Again, I knew nothing about it. I didn't have contractors. I had a little money put away from my sport career, but I didn't understand lending. I didn't know anything about that. So made an offer. The agent accepted it. It was a listed offer. And I'm like, what do I do next? So I ended up finding money. I ended up finding a contractor. I did a flip, literally just finished it from start to finish in 1 month. Had an open house, sold it. Within 2 months, made about 30 to 32 grand, which is awesome. But I also realized I had no systems, processes, anything. The internet, this is back in 2004. It wasn't like it was now. Yeah. So I joined my local real estate association, and then I saw a speaker speak on pre-foreclosures, short sales, pre-foreclosures. Again, I didn't know what those were back in the day, but it piqued my interest. So I bought that course and then went home, read it all. And the next event, I went to everyone and said, hey, who's the best person in Connecticut at doing short sales? So they all pointed to a gentleman by the name of Pat Precourt. His son actually works for me now. Kind of funny. He's in the other room. And went up to him. I said, listen, I'm not looking for a job, but I'm looking to join a team. I'm not looking for a paycheck. I'm looking to join a team. He said, you know what? I'm actually looking for a door knocker. And I'm like, all right, or an acquisition person, door knocker. I don't recommend anyone do that anymore. I'm just saying. So I door knocked. So he gave me a list of pre-foreclosure properties. Those are individuals that were losing their property or weren't paying their mortgage. So I said, all right, gave me a list of them. I went door to door from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every Monday through Friday for about a year, learned the business. And then after that year, I pulled myself out of the seat of door knocking, driving door to door, hired someone, and then now I was sitting in the seat of negotiating with banks. So I went from all that process, and we were just turning them around. Back in the day, we would buy, resell, and make the margin, discount it down, and then resell it. A little different the way it's done now today, but that's how I got started. And then we actually helped Pat and I helped start a couple real estate education programs. So we were teaching it while we were also flipping properties. And then in 2000, fast forward to 2000, was it 13? I got introduced to what a virtual assistant was. And this is one of my businesses that I run.
Yeah, let me hold you there, because I want to. Now, you came in at a great time, 2004, but you had no idea it was a great time. You know, everything was just going up, up, and up, and for anybody could jump into real estate, whether it's an agent, an investor, and it was just a great time. But it was short-lived, So how hard was 2008, and how did you navigate that crash in 2008?
It's pretty interesting because we kind of saw it coming. Again, I'm fortunate. I had a great partner, so we ended up being business partners at that time. We started seeing some changes in the industry, started talking to some of the title companies, started talking to some of the attorneys. We're here in Connecticut. We just started seeing some stuff changing because the way we were doing it, we were discounting it down. We were using land trusts. And the way we were doing our business, we started hearing some stuff behind the scenes. We're like, okay. And the bank started changing. There's a lot of stuff that started changing. So we flipped kind of our model into creating wholesale fees like this. We're buying and selling to now doing a service for agents, investors, attorneys. So we kind of got ahead of the curve. So when everything changed, we were set up to really do a lot of volume. So I could say we were lucky, but we also did a lot of research on how the industry was going. So we kind of stayed a little bit ahead. We got hurt a little bit because, those big spreads weren't there, but now the smaller checks were there and kind of stayed ahead of it.
Well, we were in probably the number 2 worst county. Riverside County was like a 1,500% increase in foreclosures. 7 out of 10 listings were REOs. Yeah. And in that time period, and it took a while for us to get back. It wasn't 2012 when it really started. So you could, from 2009 to 10, all the way up to 12, like there was tons of deals out here.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we could go back. I mean, you know that, Joey, you could always look back and say, hey, while we're doing, we could buy properties for $15,000 in New Britain. They're selling for $350,000. It's like, all right, but you can never go back. You can only learn from different times that we go through.
Bruce Norris, who's the original owner of our company, he starts out his presentation with, "Hey, I bought my son in 1995 a brand new Accord because he graduated high school for $15,000, and then for $15,500, and I bought a house for $15,300."
Yeah.
So
that'd be great. Yeah, that would be great.
Now, I'd like to get into, because everybody always, especially with social media and everything's just always great. Now, you mentioned that, in your old bio, and I don't know, that there's been setbacks both professionally and in your life. What was your biggest setback professionally that you had to overcome?
I mean, there's some deals that went sour. We had a knockdown rebuild in 2005 in Greenwich, Connecticut, right down the street of Regis Philbin back in the day. We lost $150,000, put a property under contract. It was a can't miss deal. We got caught up kind of in the hype and, ended up having a walk because we hired an attorney in Greenwich, the Greenwich area. So if anyone knows that, it's a very, very affluent place. And the attorneys were charging $475 an hour. So before you know it, we were another $10,000 in the hole trying to get our deposit back. So we had to make a business decision. Are we going to keep fighting this or walk? So we just threw the flag in and said, all right, we'll just make more money. We got to work harder and, get that $150,000 back. So that's definitely a setback.
Now, do you think that your professional, because a lot of times people want to hire ex-athletes because, they show up on time, they're team players, they're dedicated, they don't give up. Do you think that your background in sports had anything to do with you not giving up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in any business, especially real estate, there are a lot of ups and downs. But it does relate to sports, whether it's hockey, soccer, like I said, basketball, football, it doesn't matter what sport it is. We always have to get up after getting beat up, right? Maybe, you have a bad game, you have a turnover, you get sat on the bench, the coach doesn't put you back up. You gotta, that in baseball, right? Yeah. If you're going 0 for 3 every game for 10 games, they're either going to send you to the minors or they're going, you're going to sit on the bench for a little while you get mentally back into the game. So a lot of the similarities of sports getting kind of knocked down and getting back up. That's how it is in business, which, I look at our office here in Connecticut on my real estate business. We hire a lot of ex-athletes because of that reason.
Yep. Now, I'm going to pivot here to what you're doing now. So you own REVA Global, which stands for Real Estate Virtual Assistants. Let's get into your company a little bit more so we can see how we can help other real estate professionals. Now, how can trained virtual assistants help you save time and grow your business?
Yep. Good questions. I mean, I look at my real estate business now. We recently, this past year, I think we closed 207 transactions in my real estate company called PurchRock. But we use virtual assistants in our own business. And one of the things that I look at any type of business, whether, we also have a medical side, whether you're in medicine or whether in your real estate, you could use virtual assistants for everything. Maybe you use them as an executive assistant. I know for me, I look at my inbox, I have like 900 emails a day. So we have a virtual assistant that goes to our emails. And it was kind of very hard for me to
let that go.
Let that go. I'll be honest with you. Talking to my real estate business partner, he's like, dude, we need to do it. We kicked the can down the street, and now we actually have someone doing that for us, which is something that, needs to be done because, this thing, as good as it is, it's so poisonous, right?
Yeah.
It keeps your head stuck in there.
Well,
So
I have a thing about those red dots. Like I have to clear red dots.
Me too. I got the same problem, right? You have a number right there. I'm like, it just pops up. I'm like, oh, I gotta check it. But it takes a little discipline. The other one is, I know for me, I don't like posting anything in social media. So what we do is we'll do this right here, and then I'll send this whole podcast over to our virtual assistant team, and they'll cut up all of. They'll cut up and slice up all of exactly what we're doing right now, and they'll post it all around social media because we all need branding. Yeah. Because everyone's going to check to see, hey, Joey, are you legit? Is your podcast legit? Is the Norris Group Real Estate Radio Show and Podcast? Like, what is that all about? If you don't have someone doing that, it gets very, very challenging for us to drive in business.
I'm laughing and smiling because full disclosure for everybody, I do have a REVA Global virtual assistant that does everything that you just talked about for me, because it's a lot of this little mundane stuff that I don't need to be doing because I should be focusing on higher level, things that drive the business.
Yep.
Relationships, things that's what I should be focusing on, not like, hey, did we post, a cool like blog story today?
Yeah. And I think so to use another example, if you're thinking, listening to this and saying, all right, I'm a property manager or I'm a flipper, I'm a wholesaler, or however it is, you could take this same phone, walk through a property, upload it up into a drive and send over your virtual assistant. They could do the same exact thing because you may be thinking, well, I'm not on podcasts. You don't have to be on podcasts. It could be literally walking through your office and doing the same thing we're talking about. Give it over to them and they could create the content for you to then upload it because that will give you eyeballs to drive in business.
Well, and that just speaks to the consistency of doing it. If you have somebody that's their only job, like for me, I can do it. And then if something comes up, then, oh man, I didn't get that post out today. Yeah. Or I didn't get that out. You talked about how you use it to do your deals, but what should real estate investors look for in their first VA?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Let me just finish that last question and I'll put a tap on that. So how we use it, we use them for a lot of lead generation, also following up because think about this. If you're sending out direct mail or if you're cold calling your text message, you get all these leads that come in. So now your database starts filling up. One of the things that's very important is to make sure that you always call and touch those leads that are in your database because, if you look at it, about 70-80% of all leads or all deals, I think it's a lot higher than that, that happen after the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th touch. Now, if you're a solopreneur and you're doing all this yourself, you 100% will never follow up with those leads because you're going to be cherry picking the new leads that come in. So I just want to put a topper on that one.
Sure.
Yeah. And what was your second question? Sorry.
As you were talking, the other thing too is like, you're only going to be as successful as the numbers that you track. And if you're really digging into your numbers, then you could really find out what's the highest value, the highest return for you. And that's sometimes something that we don't have the time to do, but we absolutely should do. So How do you manage your virtual assistants?
Yep. No, so we have a pretty cool setup. So as soon as you for me, so if you're a new client or even myself, so we have a whole setup behind the scenes in REVA where we have a manager VA relationship. So you get a manager they're called client service managers. So you get a client service manager that you get to talk to alongside with your VA, because if you want to maybe give them more training, you want to implement another system, that client service manager can help on that. If you want to add on another VA, they'll help. We also have some systems processes behind the scenes that they could share, because we battle test a lot of stuff in my real estate company that bring over into the training side of it for my VA side. So when you hire a virtual assistant, they are trained up on a lot of stuff before they even start working for you. So
now
behind the scenes.
To be clear, we talking about virtual assistants. It's not like a cartoon. It's an actual person.
Yeah, all my virtual assistants are out of the Philippines. So we have a whole team. We have a sourcing team. We have a recruiting team. We have a training team. We have all of our operations team over in the Philippines.
Now, do you train your VAs? How much do you train your VAs in artificial intelligence?
So we have a whole training platform on that right now, and that is getting to be more and more. I mean, as things change on a daily basis, I just started using ChatGPT about 6 months ago on a daily basis, and it is incredibly powerful. Literally, if you're sending an email, you could write up an email, put it into ChatGPT as an example. I know there's a lot of AI out there, but put it in there and it just puts it in a way better format. All of our kids nowadays, I was writing essays with my kid because he's looking to go to prep school, and they're all being taught in school how to use AI, but it's very, very powerful. So yeah, on that.
I read a book this summer about the coming when everything's coming, and the professor, he's a Harvard professor that is actually teaching people how to properly prompt AI, because that's the key about it, and he has four goals four things that you should focus on. He says, always bring AI to the table. Mm-hmm. Assume that the AI you're using today is the worst one you're going to ever use.
Yep.
Be the human in the room. Okay, and tell AI what it is.
Yeah. And why AI is actually good is because it makes you think a different way. So you have to understand how to put prompts in there. I know it's a little different, you sitting back and writing a paper, but true transparency, I always had someone write my own papers in school. I never wrote my own paper anyway. And I would have learned a lot more if I would have understood what prompts are and how to actually put a prompt in there for that individual to write it. I had to sell someone to write my papers. Now you can actually, put the right prompts in to make them better.
Well, it's just like you'll probably know this from your training businesses. When you step into the teacher role, you understand it way more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's very important. I mean, that even doing these podcasts, right? The first time I did a podcast, probably both of us were the same. We were awful. First time I spoke on stage, I was awful. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. It doesn't make us better. It just makes us more comfortable.
Yes, absolutely. Slow your pace down.
Yeah.
Slow your pace down. So do your VAs only work in real estate, or can they be hired for other industries?
We have, anything. Like we have virtual assistants that are in the solar business, that we have a lot of them that are in the medical business. We have property management is considered, but anything in the real estate professional side, brokerage side, we have hard money lenders that use our virtual assistants. So it goes cross screen. It doesn't have to. We have a lot of our virtual assistants with big marketing companies as well. So they could do anything across the board.
I really appreciate you jumping on, telling everybody how they can enhance their business. Especially, we deal with a lot of the solo entrepreneurs that you're talking about. So can you tell everybody how they can get a hold of REVA Global?
Yeah, you can check us on our website, obviously, at REVA Global, REVAglobal.com. You can also send me an email, bob@revaglobal.com, or on Instagram, all those things that our virtual assistants post on. So that's probably the best way. And we have a strategy session. If you're interested in getting on a call with one of our team members, we have a strategy session button right on our website.
All right. So we took care of all of that. So who is your team in hockey? Because we're huge Kings fans over here.
Are you? Yeah, I've always been a Pittsburgh Penguin fan because we like Sidney Crosby, but they're kind of, okay. I do like Tampa. I like Vegas too because one of my old coaches is the head coach there. So
Okay.
all the good teams.
I was gonna say, you Pittsburgh came out of your mouth, and I thought for sure the next thing was gonna be Lemieux.
Oh yeah. He was unbelievable. He was unbelievable, 100%.
We're old, we're
Yep.
older, we're about the same age. So I was introduced to hockey when Gretzky came to LA,
Oh yeah.
and it was amazing.
That was a show. That was a show and a half back then.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was Edmonton, part two, a lot of it, but it was fun, and I remember just going over to our friends' houses and just really get into it, and I know the games have moved away a little bit from nobody wants them fighting anymore, but
Yeah.
we used to love McSorley.
He was nuts. Yeah, he was nuts.
If you even looked at Gretzky the wrong way, you were gonna have to drop him.
Well, they had Cement Head Semenko, they called him. Dave Semenko for Edmonton back in the day. You wouldn't mess with that guy either.
Yep. My son and I just took my son. He went to, he's playing baseball up in Iowa.
Yeah.
And so one of his buddies plays on the hockey team there at Waldorf. And so now he's like way into, so he's like, Dad, we got to go to a Kings game. So I took him to his first Kings game last Saturday.
Nice.
And they beat Tampa 2-1 in the third period. We have a fun little team that could be a little scary. You
do have a good team this year. I agree. You do have very good.
I can't believe that in his 20th year, Kopi's still as effective as he is.
I know.
I mean, it's amazing.
I know. He's that guy's timeless. He's definitely timeless.
Well, Bob, I really appreciate the conversation. I appreciate you letting everybody know how they can, enhance their businesses through what your company does. So I really appreciate you jumping on, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
For more information on hard money loans, trust deed investing, and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For more information on passive investing through the DBL Capital Real Estate Investment Fund, please visit dblcapital.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under the California DRE license 01219911, Florida Mortgage Lender license 1577, and NMLS license 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the hard money tab.